He tells us that there is a man who goes into the forest to seek lumber for the beams of his house, to build his house. And he finds two trees, one standing next to the other. One is a beautiful tree, the exterior a beautiful wood, and yet he begins to realize that even though the outside of the tree looks beautiful, it is rotting on the inside. And he turns to the other tree and he sees that the other tree doesn't look very nice on the outside. But he realizes that it is solid on the inside. It is strong. And so he says to himself, which one should I take? Should I take the one that looks beautiful? Or should I take this one here that will need some more work? But with a little more work, I will be able to use it and use it for the beams of my home. Today we have two men who go into the temple to pray. One is a Pharisee, a teacher of the scriptures, a religious man, and the other is a tax collector. Both of them are sinners, just in case you're wondering if one is good and one is not. They are both sinners. Perhaps some of us may not be able to relate to that. But the Pharisee seems to have a very good sense about himself, and he turns to the Lord. He says, Lord, I am very happy and very grateful that you have made me not like other men. I am not like an extortioner, and I'm not an adulterer. I'm not even like this tax collector standing here. I fast twice a week, and I give my tithe to the temple. And then we hear the tax collector, who does not even step into the temple very much, but stands off to the side and in the back of the temple and simply beats his breast, does not even look up to heaven. He simply says, Lord, have mercy upon me, a sinner. And so the Lord, as we have heard, tells us that this man leaves the temple justified rather than the other. Both men are sinners. The Pharisee, with his arrogance and his ego, stand before God proudly and say, look at how good I am. On the other, the tax collector, in his sinfulness, in his humility, stands before God and says, have mercy on me. I am a sinner. The Lord knows both. He knows the heart, he knows the interior of both men. Even though one seems to be righteous on the outside, but is rotten on the inside. And the other who looks very disheveled and very contemptuous and very ugly on the outside is pure on the inside because of his humility. But I don't know if we can relate to this gospel anymore in the world in which we live, because we don't believe in sin anymore. We don't believe that we can do anything wrong. We don't believe that others do anything wrong. We find a way to rationalize and to give excuses and to justify everything that we do, so that nothing is really bad. Nothing is really bad. How we have come so far from a time when this gospel had great meaning to a time when in this society today it is difficult for people to find any meaning and relate to it at all. Because we have bought into the kind of thinking that says to us, you need to build yourself up. There is nothing wrong with you, no matter what it is. The way you look, the way you talk, the way you think, the way you act, all of the things that you do, this is you. Be pleased with yourself. This is you. Whether you're tall or short, fat or skinny, handsome or ugly, whether you commit adultery or not, whether you are part of the gay community or not, whether you are an extortioner or not, whether you gossip or not, there is nothing that you can do that really is that bad, is there? Isn't that what society today really teaches us? Everyone has self-worth, and truly, everyone does have self-worth. But in what context? In the context of society? In the context of when we look at one another, I really can't judge that person. It's really not my place. So whatever you wish to do, it's okay. So we don't say anything. Or in the context of when we stand before God, either in this place or any other place. And when we stand before God, what is that relationship like? And do we really think that we are really that great when we stand before God? So we have a dilemma, don't we, gentlemen? You're the next generation. You are living in the world in which all of these things really are wonderful. We don't want to judge anybody. And yet there is a difference between right and wrong, good and evil. But what does that mean? Which one of us can decide what is good and what is not? What is evil and what is not? What is righteous and what is unrighteous? Which one of us can stand and make a judgment? But so we don't find ourselves in that precarious position, we can turn to the Scriptures if we find the Scriptures to be meaningful for us. We can turn to what God says to us if we believe that what God says to us is important to us. We can look to Christ, who even though he loves all people, does find a way to bring about some critical analysis of what we do and what we say and how we think and what we believe. Yes, the Pharisee is a hypocrite. And the publican, the tax collector, is a sinful man as well. So it's not in the sin that we find great judgment, but in how we stand before God. Because God is looking not on the outside. He's not looking at the exterior. He is not looking at the things that we say, or the things that we do, or the things that we think. He really is looking at what is inside. Because he created us. But we are the ones who decide what is inside. Because we place within ourselves, we make the choices. We decide what we want and what we're going to give up. And what we want and what we give up are the things that are going to stand out in God's judgment of us. So we should be careful what we choose. St. Paul tells us in Corinthians, you can do anything you want. And truly, we're all free to do anything we want. But not everything we do is going to be good for us. The tax collector had a job to collect taxes. And in collecting taxes, he decided, as all tax collectors, that he also needed to make a living. But how much more would he charge people to collect those taxes? If someone owed $100, would he charge them $110? Would he charge them $200? Would he charge them $500? Would he charge them $1,000 for the only $100 that the man owed? Zacchaeus was one such man. And that is how Zacchaeus became very wealthy, because he charged much more than what the state required. But then one day he met Christ. He stood before God, and that made all the difference to him. And he gave up all of that wealth to be embraced by his Creator. He sought forgiveness, and he was forgiven. So what wasn't on the outside, it wasn't how people viewed him that made a difference in God's eyes. It is how God viewed him in his interior. What the Lord saw, very few other people could see. He has gone in to be with a sinner into the man's house who steals from us. How could this be? I am not like other men. I am not like extortioners. I am not like adulterers. I am even not like this tax collector who steals from the people. I give, and I pray, and I fast. Look at me, Lord. I am exactly what you are asking for. And yet, inside, he was rotting as the tree that St. Nikolai shares with us. Let us be as that tree that the farmer took to build his house. Perhaps it needs a little bit more work on the outside. Yes, we can all do a little bit more work to make ourselves look better and to act better and to think better. But a little bit more work will allow us perhaps to find a place in the house of God. Because he's going to choose between the Pharisees and the tax collectors. And what will he find? What will he see? Will he see the beauty on the outside or the righteousness on the inside? Amen.